My name is Plogsted. Thanks for having me here. I'm an architect and I'm going to talk about architect things. The project we're going to go over today is our Louisville office, and I'm going to focus on the views portion of the daylight and views credit. Kind of dig down deep into that. So here's our building. We're at 609 West Main, just south of the Muhammad Ali Center. Gives you an idea of where we're at. Here's our basic program for the project was 3,800 square feet. Was a major overhaul of the interiors. So it was a commercial interiors project. It was first floor and a mezzanine. And this is the basic outline of 14 workstations. Have a product library, employee shower, of course, along with our bike rack. Print room, conference space, kitchen, and restrooms. So those are the kind of the highlights of the program. And the certification, 2009-10, we finally got it in early 2010. So just a brief refresher, because I know everyone's got this memorized already, but just in case you don't. The views credit for CI goes like this: views for 90% of seated spaces. It's all regularly occupied spaces. Those count. The ones that aren't regularly occupied, you don't worry about those. It's based on a line of sight between 2.6 and 7.6 as you view out, and that's shown through proof of a section, and sight lines to the perimeter shown through a plan, and I'll show you how we approach this. Along with it, if you have a private office that has over 75% of its views to the outside, then you can count all the square footage for that one. So here you see our space. Below is the first floor, and then this is our mezzanine, which is kind of this long shot here in a T, inverted T. And this is all the windows we had to work with. So I think early on we weren't even considering going after getting any kind of daylight or views out of this place, but through designing we said, we can go with lower partitions, and we probably can go for something like this. It kind of fits our work style of working collaboratively to be open office. So here's what we did. This was our mapping. Because our mezzanine doesn't have any regularly occupied space, we just pushed that aside. And so we looked at the back of our space here is where everyone does all the hard work. And so all those offices are regularly occupied. And we took, it's kind of getting cut off a little bit on the right, but those are view lines to the windows, in plan view. And so the gray areas show where it was cut off. You could no longer look out, so we couldn't count the gray areas, but we could count the yellow. And in the front here is our office manager spot. Of course, this is all glass up here, but then we have this little wing wall we put in, and so we couldn't count any of that. So here was our section, and you notice our 42-inch height that they take the view from. Here's 2.6 and 7.6, and we have our shot out. This is that front office manager spot. And then the back of our office actually has a raised platform, but we're able to get views out the back as well. And so that's what all this craziness looks like, to prove that we had our views. So you take all these views, you do all the calculations on your square footage. You've got your regularly occupied floor area, so this total becomes the total you've got to work against, becomes your denominator. And then how many square feet have a direct line of sight? And this has to be yes to count, so your horizontal view for those spaces. So what we came up with, 97.11. Okay, sweet, this is awesome, we love it. So of course we submitted to GBCI, and it came back, wait, you guys forgot this room 103. Well, room 103 we called a learning library, and it was really about education and coming in for classes and things. At the time, because we used that phrase, learning center or learning library, we had not counted it. Well, it is a regularly occupied space. In fact, they said here, you can only discount copy room, storage, mechanical, laundry, restrooms. Oh, in addition, you missed that Office 102 actually had less than 75% of its area. So we went back and revisited our calculations. And what we came up with, this was the one that we were off on 75%. So we went from 75 down to 47. We found that we had 2 errors in here about 2 of our offices that actually were over 75%. So we added those in. However, here was our big learning center that we missed. And the majority of it did not help us. So we went down to 82.6%. Credit shot. 82.6 of it was compliant, and so that meant about 1,023 square feet out of 1,238. And ultimately, we only needed 91.2 square feet of floor area to hit our 90%. So we said, what can we do? Is it possible to get there? And in the front, everything's unoccupied. There's nothing there. In the back, we've already included all that stuff, and this is all core stuff that there was no opportunity there. Enter in our learning center area here. And we said, well, you know what? We've got window along this edge. So really, we have to count this, and that's in that calculation. But with this yellow box, we were still short. So, you see there the yellow box again. You see oriented. If you directed a view line back, and that's what the red line means, we had this space here was literally the only square footage that we could possibly approach to do anything with. And so the proposal was to add a 4-foot wide window here. And that would then add 94 square feet. Will get us there. However, we were done. You know, the process of documenting and everything, it takes forever. And so this is where we would have had to put that window. You'll notice a light switch is there. Not that we couldn't move our sign, but of course we had already picked out that was the spot. On the other side of the wall, a marker board, more light switches. That's just not going to work. And how bad do we need this point? So it was all the discussion about how to approach it. So finally what we did is we said, you know what, we're not going to do it. And here are the reasons. Of course, the timing I mentioned, contractors are all gone. Trying to get them back to kind of do some of this stuff would have been a real headache. Budget was a consideration. It wasn't just adding a window. You're getting into electric, you're getting into changing this marker board, how we use the space that was always designed to be this big marker board. So there was some budget consideration. And ultimately, and this happens on a lot of our credit reviews, is that we didn't need the point to hit a certain level of LEED. And I see this on a lot of projects that come back. We don't pursue it because we don't need that point. And so that was the discussion here as well. So kind of some of the lessons learned that came out of going through all this process. Take advantage of your design submittal. I know so many projects that say, you know what, we're just going to wait to the end, we'll package it all together and send it at the end. Design and construction submittal, all is one. Well, that's valuable time to take advantage of doing something small like this. It probably would have been able to be done. We probably could have lowered some other partitions somewhere else, achieved a few more square feet here or there, and gotten through. Secondary review calculations I put up there. I think if someone else would have reviewed the numbers, you might have caught some of those errors in there. So many times you're going through all these calculations, you get buried into it, and you're so focused on what you're doing that you kind of miss some easy things. And so I think it would be very good to have everything checked over. And then project experience. The gentleman who did this, it was his first shot at doing administration. And every time you do one, you learn, you learn, you learn, you learn. So experience is really critical. So those are kind of my takeaways for you. And if you have any questions, love to answer.
How many architects in the Cincinnati public school system have done, that you're working with, what percentage have done these projects in South Carolina?
I'd say that there's probably only one architect who is using us as an experiment, using Cincinnati Public as an experiment. I think they've all done it. Yeah.
I've actually seen that space with the meeting, so I commend you on finding so much natural light in such a shotgun space.
Yeah.
You using the 2.8 spec? The 2.8 specification on this?
This was
on this
2.0.
metal?
This was LEED 2.0,
Oh,
CI
2.0.
2.0.
And